Hello, this is Mr. Gregorich with Anatomy and Physiology. We are starting chapter 4 today with our first video. And this chapter is all about tissues. So we've talked about cells and chemicals. So we're working our way up through our hierarchy of organization within the human body. So if you recall, the definition of a tissue was a group of similar cells that functions together to carry out specialized activities and usually have a common embryonic origin. So there are jobs out there, there are careers involving histology. Histology is nothing more than the study of tissues. So hospitals usually employ somebody that works in a lab that analyzes tissue samples removed from the human body during surgeries, and they look mainly for abnormalities. That can also be a pathologist can look at that, but a histologist would be looking at how to prepare those tissues for study. And usually they work alone in a lab or with a couple other people. Usually the labs are somewhat tucked away in different areas of the hospital. So if you don't like working with a lot of people or don't want to work with the general public, this could be a possible career for you. So we said that usually these tissues have a common embryonic origin. So whenever the embryo is developing, and we have been dividing cells after fertilization. So we start with that one cell, the zygote, and then it starts dividing and it has exponential growth. It starts developing into a blastocyst, which is just a ball of cells. And then that ball of cells ends up being called a gastrula, and it hollows out, and we have folding of things, and we end up with 3 different layers of cells. From these 3 different layers of cells, they start to differentiate and specialize. And we end up with certain body systems developing from these germ layers. And the germ layers are all given names based on their position within the developing embryo. So those 3 germ layers are the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm. So by looking at these names, we can see that this is the outer, the middle, and then the inner layer. So we have 3 layers. The ectoderm is where our skin, the integumentary system, comes from, and the nervous system. So they have a common embryological origin. The mesoderms, we end up with muscles, bones, and our blood vessels. And the endoderm, we have the digestive system, the respiratory, and the urogenital. So the urinary system, the kidneys, and then the reproductive system. So these are where our different systems come from through that process of cell differentiation. So we're talking about all those stem cells that we talked about in chapter 3. Here they come into play. So we're getting a little bit more specialized. So we're going from the totipotent now maybe to pluripotent. So some things are shutting off and we cannot move back to where we can get anything from that one cell.